have a conversation.
Go to southernroofingaugusta.com for all of your roofing needs.
Closed captioning for News 12 is brought to you by Kenneth Nugent. From the station that's on your side, this is News 12, first at 4.
Well, American boots could be on the ground in the Ukraine soon. A source in the Biden administration is looking into sending U.S. troops as tensions continue to rise. But first, are you on the hunt for a COVID test? Today, South Carolina's DHEC is rolling out at-home COVID tests for free, just as a national push to deliver N95 masks start. Behind me is Aiken's testing site hours through DHEC, Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. Now, our Celeste Springer is looking at where you can go to get these COVID resources.
A lot of people have been hard hit with COVID. Even me, a couple weeks ago, I woke up with a terrible headache and some really bad body chills. And it took me 5 tries at Walmart to try and find a take-home test like this. But now DHEC is trying to make that process a little easier. Today marks day 1 of DHEC's program to get tests in the hands of people who need them. People in our area can head here to the Aiken County DHEC office for a free test. They're limit 1 per person, and you must come by in person. Unfortunately, you've got to be present to get yours, so you can't pick up any extra tests for friends sick at home. We spoke to one man, though, who says the process to get one was seamless.
It was quick and easy. I walked in there. All I had to give my name and date of birth. And basically, that was it.
Getting COVID is already a struggle enough as it is. Take it from me, guys, I know. But getting a COVID test or getting masks shouldn't be a struggle as well. So coming up at 11 o'clock, I'm breaking down moves at the state and federal level to make things a little bit easier on all of us. In Aiken, Celeste Springer, on your side.
All right, thanks for that update, Celeste. Columbia County deputies have just opened lanes back up after a tanker truck flipped over earlier this morning. This is what the scene looked like. This is at the intersection of Washington Road and North Bel Air Road in Evans. Right now, lanes are still closed, actually, and they are not sure when they will be back open. Thankfully, no one was injured. More news ahead, but let's take a live look over about 10 minutes. All right, thanks, Riley. The trial date is set for a former Augusta commissioner charged with lying to agents and destroying records during a federal investigation. His trial is set to start March 28th at 9 a.m. Former District 4 Commissioner Sammy Sias was indicted on those charges back in July. He pled not guilty back in August. Happening tomorrow, the Edgefield County School District is remembering the life of 6-year-old Alana Keels. They will be holding a balloon release at Douglas Elementary, where she was a first grader. Her family says she loved to read books and would always come home saying how much she loved her teachers there. Happening today, opening statements are starting in the federal case against 3 former officers involved in George Floyd's death. All 3 are accused of violating Floyd's civil rights. 2 of the men are charged with failing to intervene in Derek Chauvin's unreasonable use of force. They restrained Floyd's legs while Chauvin pressed his knee onto his back as Floyd yelled he couldn't breathe. The 3rd held back bystanders who asked for officers to stop and check Floyd for a pulse. President Biden is...
We'll take a look at those brain changes later to the week in just about 10 minutes.
Riley, thanks a lot. Reports of COVID cases in Georgia and South Carolina doubling over the last couple of weeks. We've been keeping track of the number of hospitalized COVID patients for you. And this graph shows patients admitted to University Hospital since back in August. Here's August, and here we are today. And you can just see where cases decreased here in the middle months, but they've been started climbing again dramatically. University with 141 people in the hospital right now with COVID.
At AU Health, the hospital reported 138 patients in-house with COVID-19 as we speak. News 12's Maria Sellers sat down with Dr. Philip Kuhl at AU to talk about this latest spike.
Increased hospitalizations has been a common occurrence as AU battles Omicron.
What we've seen is a much more rapid rise in the number of patients that required hospitalization than on the previous waves.
This is due to the highly contagious nature of the variant.
It appears to be more transmissible. Some have estimated as much as 30 to 40% more transmissible than the Delta variant.
These large numbers of hospitalizations have created challenges for employees.
Staff going out with COVID has made it more difficult to deal with this surge.
But it's not all bad news, as many staff members are not getting extremely sick.
Most of them have very limited symptoms. They have some mild symptoms, and they're usually able to return back to work fairly quickly.
There are not as many patients in the ICU or on a ventilator as there has been in the past, which could be due to vaccinations.
If you're vaccinated and happen to get Omicron, you have a milder course, and it can create what's kind of referred to as a super immunity,
Putting us closer to an endemic.
as more people get this and go through this, they'll develop some degree of immunity that should lessen the burden of this disease over time.
As for when exactly it will peak, that remains unknown, but they are hopeful hospitalizations will decrease beginning next week. Reporting in Augusta, Maria Sellers on your side.
And Dr. Cool says predicting a peak is really hard because cases move through different communities at different times, at different speeds. But we do seem to be reaching a peak in Richmond County, with Columbia County not too far behind.
All lanes are back open tonight after a tanker truck rolled over at Washington Road and North Bel Air Road in Evans. That tanker carrying wastewater, which made a mess of both the roads and the traffic. The call came in around 11:30 this morning. Crews were at the scene cleaning it all up most of the day. They finally wrapped up around 4 this afternoon. Deputies say no one was hurt during that rollover. In Baltimore, 3 firefighters are dead, another in critical condition after part of a row house collapsed while crews were there battling the flames. Crews were initially called to the scene around 6 this morning. At some point, part of the building collapsed, trapping 4 firefighters. One was pulled out immediately. Crews reached the other 2 in less than an hour. A 4th pulled out later this afternoon.
Authorities in Tennessee say they arrested a man linked to the fatal shooting of a deputy after an hours-long standoff north of Nashville. Officials have been investigating the death of a Robertson County patrol deputy named Savannah Puckett. Her body was discovered Sunday inside a burning home. They didn't release any information about the suspect or his relationship to the deputy. Overseas tensions continue that Ukraine would never be admitted as a NATO member. The U.S. rejected both of those proposals.
Meanwhile, a Georgia judge agrees to allow a special grand jury to look into possible wrongdoing by President Trump following the election. The Fulton County District Attorney made that request. She's looking into whether the former president and others broke the law by trying to pressure Georgia officials to throw out President Biden's victory in the 2020 election. Special grand juries can be used to investigate complex issues of all kinds. They don't have the power to indict people, but they can make recommendations to prosecutors. The officer charged in connection to the controversial arrest of Travis Price in Rock Hill last summer appearing in court today. Former officer Jonathan Marino is facing third-degree assault and battery charges. Video of the arrest circulating on social media prompted a series of protests throughout the city.
I was given commands to do this, do that, and that's what I did. He come out that car with all that aggression.
Travis Price and his brother Ricky were arrested last June. The prosecution argued the video shows Marino broke the law. His defense lawyers argue he's being used as a scapegoat by the city.
The federal trial of 3 former officers charged in George Floyd's death is underway. Tal Thomas Lane and J. Alexander Kung are accused of violating Floyd's civil rights. Derek Chauvin pleaded guilty in his federal case last month. In court, the prosecutor said the 3 officers did nothing when Floyd said he couldn't breathe, ignoring their training. Tal's attorney said Floyd's death was a tragic accident, but the whole story wasn't seen in the viral video. Kung's lawyer emphasized prosecutors would need to prove his client willfully deprived Floyd of his rights. All 3 defendants are expected to pin the blame on Chauvin. City leaders in Aiken passed the first...
Well, we have been on quite the roller coaster ride temperature-wise, dating all the way back to the beginning of the year, and it looks like it is going to continue this week. We'll have a look at that forecast just after the break.
Plus, we're on your side with how you can get free at-home COVID test at a South Carolina health department when News 12 at 11 continues.
Weekday morning starting at 4:30.
Too many COVID test results to process for DHEC. They typically release those numbers on weekdays on a 48-hour delay, but they plan to release those numbers tomorrow to make sure they're absolutely accurate with the system overrun by people wanting to get a test.
This comes just a couple of weeks after the agency apologized for long lags for patients waiting for test results. Their labs are overrun with the spike in testing we've seen during the Omicron surge. And as Celeste Springer reports, if you've tried to find a home test kit lately to avoid some of those long lines and long wait times for results, relief is on the way.
It's a delivery meant for millions nationwide. The Biden administration is shipping out COVID tests to every household that signs up for one online. We found the struggle is real trying to get a take-home test lately. We asked you on social media if you had any luck. It was a mixed bag all around. For some, hunting one down was harder than for others. One person tells us it took them 6 different tries before they found a store with some in stock.
Getting your hands on a rapid test like one of these can be really tough nowadays. The CVS behind me, for example, only has about 2 of these left. But agencies like DHEC are working to make sure getting one of these is easy and free.
This is where we ran into Dion Bostic.
It was quick and easy. I walked in and out. All after I gave my name and date of birth, and basically, that was it.
And he's right. We found that's all it took, just giving them our name and birthday, and we were out the door in no time. And picking up a test here isn't the only free resource we found. 400 million N95 masks are getting shipped out nationwide to pharmacies and health centers, and you can get yours free of charge. Those started getting shipped out last week, and the program should be in full swing by the end of February. And when it comes to taking advantage of the resources out there,
everybody need to go get one, though. Hey, they don't think it's real out here.
we're told don't delay. Celeste Springer, on your side.
If you'd like to order tests to be delivered straight to your home for free, just go to covidtest.gov. You can also swing by DHEC in person to pick one up during their business hours, Monday through Friday.
To weather now.